I was convinced this gentleman sent his daughter to Campo in SA just to keep her away from me.
Take it slow if it's possible.
It is possible.
If it is possible,
It's possible.
make as many friends as possible. Welcome to the tea.
So I'm the firstborn in my family. I have two younger sisters. So I grew up in a house primarily full of estrogen.
Yes.
Because my dad was at work, he'd come in late. I was generally around women.
Yes.
And so by virtue of that, I didn't struggle to relate with women. I understood almost subliminally how to interact with chicks. I remember in primary school, for instance, the first time I became conscious to this thing called Valentine's Day, I was in class 6, standard 6.
Wow.
I was in Kilimani Junior Academy, very posh school back then. Very posh. I was the poorest kid in class. And you know, I didn't come from a poor home, typical middle class Nairobi family.
Yeah.
I was the poorest kid in class, in my view. There was all this buzz. Hey, Valentine's is this week. Valentine's is this week. Who's your Valentine's? Who's your, like, what is that? Who is your Valentine's? I'm supposed to have a Valentine's. And, you know, the other guys chanuad me. They're like, yeah, dude, you have to pick someone to, you know, to express your romantic feelings to. Otherwise, you're lame, dude. You can't be alone on Valentine's. I was like, but me, I like all those chiles, man. They're all nice. I can't pick. So you know what I did? Like very innocently, I told my mom, I need Valentine's cards and flowers.
And you're in standard 6.
Standard 6.
Man, you are ahead of time. Eh?
My mom took me shopping. Valentine's Day, I handed a Valentine's card and flower to like 5 chicks in class. And they were all so happy.
Yeah.
They were all so happy. I scored major points with all of them. There was no drama.
There was no drama.
No, there was no
Seriously,
drama.
What did you do to them?
I mean,
There must be something.
I have no idea. Me, I was just, you know, being myself.
Yeah.
So I've never struggled with relationships with.
Yeah, but you can't try that now.
Well, we have grown up a little bit. But going into high school, same situation. I standard 1, my pen pal like you was a Form 3. In Form 1, my romantic other was a Form 3 student. In fact, I got in trouble with the prefects because she kept sending letters and you know, she went to Alliance Girls, which was across.
Yes.
We call them Acrosians, or we call each other Acrosians because we literally share a fence in the back.
Yes.
And every evening, the prefect would hand out letters from across. And this guy just couldn't understand why this rabble is Form 1 is receiving letters from the prettiest chick in Form 3. Like, who are you? Who do you think you are? I mean, it was such silliness. But again, I didn't see any issue. I was very comfortable. I didn't have.
Dating a Form
I didn't struggle. No.
Wow.
I didn't struggle, and that's something I only appreciated later in life.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't thinking about it in those terms.
Yeah.
I was just comfortable being myself because I grew up with sisters. My mom is a very strong female, feminine personality, and I was just comfortable.
Yeah.
Fast forward to campus. You know, my first serious girlfriend was shipped off to South Africa, Dorothy. Her father was convinced I had sinister motives, and I'm not making anything up. I was actually told. In fact, I'm censoring the words he used, just out of respect.
Yeah.
So I was convinced this gentleman sent his daughter to Campo in SA just to keep her away from me. You know, that's how I was so motivated. My first income generating activity was to buy a ticket to go visit her, which I did. Changed my life, that whole experience.
But Solo, with that, the background you've given me, the dad had Good reason. You are an irresistible guy. Yeah? A proven
Thank
track
you.
record. You know?
Yeah, I mean, like, was it my fault? It's like,
So he was trying to do just what he was supposed to do as a dad.
I'll say this, you know, my firstborn is a girl.
Yes.
I promise you, if you have an ugly thought about that girl right now, I'll take you out. And I'll sleep like a baby at night.
Yes.
So I understand,
Yes.
as a father, huge respect to that gentleman. He only did what he thought was best.
Yes, for the girl.
For his firstborn
This smoothie
daughter.
guy.
Yeah, this is Jama who thinks he can come over here and confuse and derail my daughter from her purpose in life. But, you know, I got shipped off to the US for school.
Yes.
So, you know, our prospects quickly died. We had no idea when we were going to see each other again. We saw each other again a year later.
Yeah.
I shared before how, they ended up meeting in my house, not knowing I was trying to be.
Who are they? Who were they? You left us.
Yeah, my second serious girlfriend.
Okay.
I met in the US.
Yeah.
She was a tough one, man. She made me work hard for her attention for 6 whole months. But, you know, I'm a stubborn guy, like I said before.
Yeah.
I don't give up easy. And finally, I engaged her box. She was now my Chile, but I hadn't broken things off properly with my first Chile, who was in SA.
Yeah.
Then, you know, we come home for Christmas and they're both at the house to see me.
Wow.
And I was sweating bullets.
Again, you remember when you gave so many
Yes.
Valentine cards?
Yes.
So this thing was replaying again.
Yes, it was manifesting in a different way, you know. So it was a troubling time, to say the least. But thankfully, we all went to school.
You resolved it.
It resolved itself by virtue of the distance. But, you know, I did call her and I said, listen, I'm sorry, we're too far apart. Me, I met this other chick. I like her. I have feelings for her. And I don't know when you and I are going to see each other again. So I think it's just best, you know, we just remain friends.
Yeah.
Much later on, I don't remember how many years later, I actually apologized to her for disrespecting her by not closing that before I started letting something else happen.
Yeah.
You know, long and short of it is I ended up marrying the second serious one.
Yeah.
We dated for 11 years. She thought I was too slow, and I was, but there was good reason.
Yeah.
I was a college dropout with no prospects of coming back to school, trying to find my way. And she was ready for marriage after the 3rd or 4th year of dating.
Wow.
You know, she's seated back there, so I can say.
That one is good enough to honor. What's her name?
Yes, that's Aika.
Aika.
My wife.
Hi, Aika.
Sorry.
She's blushing.
Yeah. I am still irresistible.
You still have it. You still got it.
Yeah, I still have it. But I learned a lot during that whole journey. And I'm being serious about it because these are serious issues. They have to do with life decisions. You set yourself in a particular course that you can very hardly reverse from. So to sum it all up, I'll tell people, whether it's romantic or platonic, you have to be militant about who you allow into your lives and your circles. Yeah. There's no room for mucking around. Whether or not you like it, it affects your life. You know, bad character corrupts good.
Good morals, yeah.
And that has nothing to do with you. You can't say, I'm strong enough, I can handle it, I'll affect them, they can't affect me. You have nothing to do with that process. It's automatic. And why put yourself in a situation where you need to expend so much energy and concentration to not be affected by people of poor character. And that goes for romantic relationships as well. Even more so, I would say. They have to be people of good character. And so my advice to the young people is 20s, 30s, take your time. Don't be in a rush. Don't bow to the pressure. You know, Richie, was it Richie? Someone cracked a joke. It was another new friend of ours called Abel. He described single people as the ones who sleep like golf clubs. You know, they're like this because they're feeling cold. Yes. You know, don't bow to the pressure to not feel cold at night when you go to bed because you want someone. Take your time. Focus on being the best version of yourself, whatever that is for you. Work on yourself. Like, be a person of integrity. Work hard. Focus on your vocation, your career, your calling. And in that process, you will find or even attract the right one. But I find, and this is from my own personal experience, like I said, I never struggled to find a mate ever since Primo because I was never looking. I never went out of my way to look. I just stumbled upon people in my circles while I was busy doing what I was doing. Whereas I have friends who are constantly complaining how they can't find, they're looking, they can't find, they're always looking, they're dating 3-4 chicks at the same time. That one is a joker, the other one is after my money, the other one is a gold digger, the other one is playing me and some other guy. I'm like, hey, God, like, dude, like, you stop looking. Just focus on
what you're doing.
And I suppose it's a bit biased for me to say that because I haven't experienced that. But I think the reason I haven't experienced that is precisely because I've never made it my goal to go looking. You will attract what you become. I strongly believe that. You know, there's that saying, as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. I think it's King Solomon, my namesake, who said that.
Why is that Solomon?
I'm not giving myself props, you know.
And Solomon too had a reputation. He was a smooth guy.
It was the money and the wisdom.
It's in the name.
It was gold diggers, gold diggers, proper. But you know, it's true. As whatever you become inside, is what you attract.
It's true.
It's just a law of nature. I believe God created things to work that way. So focus on yourself. Be the best version of yourself. That way you'll attract the best of what's out there for you. And that's all I'll say for romantic relationships. I'm sure
there's a lot more.
People here have questions they will ask later. But with regards to platonic ones, and in this case, we're talking about wealth building, achieving goals in life, having a fulfilled life. What would you advise someone in terms of how do you cultivate good relationships, meaningful relationships, relationships that multiply your output in life as opposed to siphoning life out of you? What would you say?
And I think at this point it's a good point to bring together what you're calling romantic relationship and platonic relationship, because we all end up marrying one person, or you all only end up with one girlfriend or one boyfriend, whatever. Nowadays I even hear, this is my partner. You end up with one partner. The thing is that your girlfriend, your partner, your wife, or your husband will come from your set of so-called platonic friendships, the relationships that you've been cultivating over the years. And that's why for me, I also feel it's very important for you and I, now that we've had since our 20s is over 20 years, we have the wisdom of hindsight to say that we've seen relationships or marriages that were formed in the early 20s, and we've seen marriages that were formed in the in the 30s and late 30s, and some even now in their 40s, and you can see the difference. And for me, the one thing I've observed is identity. When you're in your 20s and you get into a marriage situation in your 20s, especially if you're a lady, ladies tend to adopt the identity of the husband. And because they've not had a chance to discover themselves, and of course, very quickly, you start getting children, and as you get children, you get pulled into all this whole rat race of life. And then once the children start growing and maturing in your late 20s, early 30s, you start struggling with identity, because you suddenly realize, by the way, these kids are individuals by themselves. My husband is an individual by himself, but who am I? And in my observation, it has brought challenges in marriages, because the lady is just discovering her identity, and her now starting to redefine herself away from her husband's identity is bringing tension into the relationship. And she's not doing anything wrong, it's just that things were inverted. She started by giving herself completely, and now she's like, by the way, who am I? And it's a very confusing time for in a marriage situation, and also for the man, because the man is not the one who's trying to find an identity, because that has never been an issue, because she adopted his identity. So I feel very strongly it's important for me to mention that observation. The guys who meet in their 30s, you've dated many people, or a few people. You can almost smell from very far, by the way, that guy is not my type, or that lady is not my type. We don't even need to go for a first date, there's this thing, you already know yourself. You don't come from your mother's house into a marital home. You've come from your parents' home, you've lived by yourself, then you realize, by the way, I don't like squeezing the toothpaste from the top. I like squeezing it from the... But those are the things people fight in marriage, I like my things this way, I like I like order, or I don't like order, I can see I'm touching some nerves here.
Yeah.
But you start knowing who you are and how you like to live your life. And that is so important. And you also start identifying yourself without anybody else. Who am I? Who am I to God? Why am I here? And by the way, why do I need somebody else in my life? Those become questions that you ask yourself in your singlehood, in that studio house, in that one-bedroom house by yourself, where when you sweep your eyes around, you see everything that you own. You look at the ceiling and you're just talking to yourself. Those are very good years of discovering who you really are in your solitude.
Precious time.
It's precious time, and it really never comes back. It really never comes back. And so, as you're saying, you shouldn't be in a hurry. Just to support that point, you are unlikely to be ever alone once that ball starts rolling of marriage, children, grandchildren, in-laws. It's just full of activities. Yeah. But the key thing you come out with is that you know yourself. So I've seen those marriages tend to be easier, less challenges, because people have identified who they are. I cannot date this kind of person. This is my kind of person. Yeah. Those things are kind of clearer. And then also you've matured. You know which battles to fight and which ones not to fight. you don't have to win every fight. You choose happiness over being right. You know, when you're in your 20s, you want to be right, so you're the one who is not right, you know. So for me, that take it slow if it's possible.
It is possible.
If it is possible,
It's possible.
make as many friends as possible.
Yeah.
Hang out with as many people as possible of the opposite sex without really committing yourself. Learn.
And by that, you're not saying be promiscuous.
No, hang out.
I'm
That's what I'm
just
saying.
making
Hang
sure.
out. Yes. Just hang out. Be
Yeah.
open yourself. You can be friends with the opposite sex with just being friends, you know. And it's important because it's a healthy way of living your life, respecting boundaries and knowing who you are and being comfortable with who you are by yourself. So if you can use that your 20s to build as much network as possible. There's a friend of mine. Now I call her a friend. She's a friend of mine, but she sent to another friend of mine a presentation, asking her to introduce her to me so that I can meet one of her friends, a gentleman, because of matters to do with investment. So she was setting up a date with someone, and I was so impressed with her way of networking. She's found a way of pitching and reaching out to people who would otherwise not be reachable to her. And once you see the pitch, I read it and I was like, someone sat down and put together a pitch to meet me just for a cup of tea. And it was criminal for me to even imagine saying no. I just had to say yes. And I met the gentleman. I also met her, and I've now helped her also to meet other people in my network using similar.
Now you're touching on the stuff that gets my blood boiling.
Yeah, similar pitches.
That's where relationships start to make sense.
Exactly.
And you know, that's a topic you and I can yap about for endlessly. So my proposal is this: why don't we let our lovely audience ask us the questions, because I believe we're going to touch on a lot of that, just in the interest of time. Awesome. Guys, I'm sure you have questions. I see someone nodding.
So we've gotten to that place we say, ask Pius and Solo.
Yes, it's
this
Ask
is the
Pius
tea.
and Solo time.
Yes.
Now it's time to get into the real tea.
Yeah.